14 in high school, and I remember having to leave class randomly to find the nearest bathroom so I could open up a window just to be able to cool off from the hot flashes that I was having. I also remember skipping school, faking my mom's signature because I was so heartbroken from my diagnosis and I just wanted to be left alone.
Welcome back. Today we are jump-starting a long overdue conversation on menopause, and nothing this hour is off limits. I promise you that. You want to stick around. We're talking about extremely early and unexpected diagnosis. We're talking about how it affects your libido, your self-esteem. The list goes on and on. But with us, that was in the video you saw, that was Anna Manning, who was told she was going through menopause at 14 years old. Amanda and Megan, who entered menopause at ages 32 and 25 due to medical procedures, are still with us. But Anna and Stephanie, who is also with us, are part of the 1% of women who experience menopause-like symptoms before the age of 40. It's often diagnosed as primary ovarian insufficiency. Now, according to the NIH research, 74 to 90% of the time, they don't even know why it happens. Anna, thank you so much for joining us. I know you told us that that you were menopausal when you were just 14, but you felt so much shame with your diagnosis that you decided not to tell your brother and your dad for a decade.
Yes.
What was it like keeping that secret?
I just felt the news itself was, a complete shock to me. And I think my culture, I'm from Costa Rica originally, and I think my culture played a lot in that old school mentality that we don't talk to men about these things. Mm-hmm. Like, we don't talk about menopause, we don't talk about period. That's a woman thing, we keep it to ourselves. Yeah. And that's just kind of the mindset that I had at the time. So I felt a lot of shame because of what happened to me. The biggest heartbreak for me was the infertility portion of it, because that was how the news was delivered to me, that I was unable to have children. And, it just completely crushed my heart, and I just became very isolated with it all. I didn't tell anyone. My mom and my best friends from high school were the only ones that knew about what was happening to me. I didn't really understand either what was really happening to me. The word menopause wasn't used. Essentially, like, I was diagnosed with premature ovarian insufficiency. And
what did the doctors tell you that meant?
To be honest, I wasn't given any information, not a whole lot back then. This was in the 90s. So basically he came in, he said, you can't have children, take this medication until you're 50. And then that was it. Out the door I went. And that's just how things were back then. Like, they just didn't really know a whole lot. And I can't blame the doctors, because that's just how I felt. I felt like they were just as confused as I was as to what was happening to me.
We have Stephanie with us as well. Stephanie, you're 22 now. As a teenager, you were suffering from irregular periods, sometimes not getting them for months at a time. How did you find out that it was actually menopause at 16?
Well, I actually, after not having my period for, I'd say, 2 months, I decided to call my OBGYN. And my OBGYN thought the best course of action was to order a blood test. So she ordered a blood test. I got the blood test done. And she called me back in the office and she said, I think your results got mixed up with somebody else's results. Yeah. So she said, I'm terribly sorry. I think we should just retry to take the blood test. So I got it done again, and I went back to her office and she said, your levels weren't mixed up. Those are truly your levels. Wow. Your estrogen levels are extremely depleted, and so are your progesterone levels. So she said, I think you should call a pediatric endocrinologist and try to see them as soon as possible.
Dr. Malone, listen, I know these are the rare cases. The reason why I wanted their stories is because, like the ocean, they say we continue to discover new life in the ocean. We haven't learned 1% of what really is in the ocean. We don't know 1%, it seems sometimes, about menopause because we don't talk about it. Anna said, that was the 90s. That was just yesterday, you know? And she, as she was so kind not to blame the doctors, it does seem like the medical world continues to forget us. I mean, we know more about Viagra.
Well, that's true.
Than we know about, you know, some of the things to help and treat menopause.
And you know, and I think this bespeaks a certain bias when it comes to women and our health care. Yeah. I mean, up until 1993, women weren't included in most medical studies. So our knowledge of menopause and what causes it and really what to do about it also got sort of thwarted in 2002 when there was a large study called the Women's Health Initiative, which was done. And it was supposed to sort of follow women who are using hormone therapy or not using hormone therapy because of not just the hot flashes. We know that hormones helps that. And that's sort of even though we sort of call that the face of menopause, the real issues are the long-term health implications of being estrogen deficient. And these young women who have this is just menopause, the ill effects are multiplied, and the ill effects are osteoporosis, cardiovascular disease, in a lot of cases decline in cognitive function much earlier than would be women who go through natural menopause, as well as the sexual dysfunction and urinary problems. So menopause, even though we laugh about it and it's a hot flash, it has far-reaching implications for women, not only when they happen early,